There are things that the Jewish community sees the Gentiles doing and they desire it. We see that through history, Israel and Judah having desires to go after the things that the Gentiles seem to think is great. But we see the other side of it, Gentiles wanted to go and turn around and become Jewish. It's the affections, the heart, the wanting and desiring of something somebody else has, and not actually desiring what he's already gotten for you, what he's provided for you. What is the thing that's for you? So when he says unbeliever, and a lot of you have heard me say this before, but one of the things that kind of wears me out and exhausts me is when a person comes up to me and says, well, you know, my friend so-and-so at work, well, she's a believer or he's a believer. Well, what does that mean? Well, they're Christian and they believe in the Messiah in a Christian sense, so that makes them a believer, because after all, your whole life as a Christian, you were told that makes you a believer. Well, you know what? You can find everybody and anybody on the street and they're all believers in something. I mean, they could be believers in Islam, Buddhism, atheism. You know, they could be secular humanism or any Hinduism. They could be anything, but they're believers. Christian, Jew, they're all believers in something. But when Paul's using the phrase, what does he mean? That's just the reality. That's what Paul's dealing with here with the Corinthian congregation. He's saying, look, if you keep going the path you're going to let go of one or the other. Or you're going to twist it and pervert it from what it's actually designed to be. It no longer will be what it was originally, what it is. What relationship or agreement has Messiah with something that's been claiming and being represented to be Messiah? Because all of these pagan things claim to be the Father, Son, or some combination of, don't they? So, and what agreement has the truth with the twist of the truth? So it's not just light and dark, but it's what agreement has Messiah with that, which by the way, now he's connecting, saying that the twisted truth is still darkness. Not that Israel is special because of their birth. Paul makes that point so many times over and over and over again. So does Yeshua, by the way. That it's not about your birth. It's about the fact that you were still made in the image of the Creator. All of you, no matter what you look like, no matter what you were raised as, no matter what your culture was, come up out from among who? Let's see, the unequally yoked people, the lawless, the darkness, the Belial stuff, the unbeliever stuff. Oh, but we don't like to separate ourselves because, after all, that doesn't feel right. It just doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel like that's what God would want. Yahweh wouldn't want me to cut off myself from certain family and friends and coming out away from them, separating from them. Therefore, come out from among them and be separate. Is there a confusion as to what Paul's saying here? And do not touch what is unclean, and I shall receive you. Do not touch what is unclean. Now, he's not all of a sudden, out of all of these chapters we're reading, talking about touching a dead animal or something that is tameh. What is he saying is unclean? The thinking, the instruction, the yoking coming from those that are lawless or Torahless, darkness, Belial, unbelievers, all of this stuff. Don't touch what is unclean. Don't touch it. The unequally yoked. I love when the people say to me, well, you know, I still go to my Sunday church because, you know, I'm trying to help them all see the truth. Liar, liar, pants on fire. Don't ever tell me that. That's just garbage. You're there because you're lonely and that's where your friends are, or that's where your heart is and your affections, and you spin it in your own head thinking, because I haven't met one person yet that actually had any positive effect in bringing people out, because if they really were doing it, they'd have been thrown out. Own your walk. And then stop arguing with what he says. But it's inconvenient and it's going to cause suffering and pain within. Yes, it is. And not because he wants to cause that, but because the world you live in is not his world. In other words, they're not submitted under him. If the world was, you'd have none of these issues. You would never be invited to a graduation on Saturday. You'd never be invited to a wedding on Saturday. You'd never be invited to a funeral on Saturday. You'd never be asked to work on Saturday. If it was his world. But he has allowed this world to be under a different influence for right now. But I love them. I know, he knows, it's okay. Keep loving them. Just don't put them in a place of influence. Oh, but they're not influencing me. Okay, how many of you, well, you don't have to raise your hand, but how many of you can either say when you were children, or if you can even better, when you, as parents, can say that you have children that have said to you, because you don't like who they're hanging out with, and say, but they're influencing you. And they go, no, they're not, but you see it. Because you see the other child, and you see how your child has changed. And your child is becoming like those they're hanging out with.